Welcome to I-24 News Defense Magazine. I'm Alon Ben David with your weekly review of security, intelligence and strategic affairs. In this edition, the Iran deal. What will the lifting of sanctions do to the Islamic Republic's strategic position and military force? The Israeli Navy welcomes its newest nuclear-capable submarine. And evolving threats bring new challenges to aviation security. Let's begin. As the world is embracing Iran back into the family of nations after years of being a pariah, Israel and several other Middle Eastern countries are becoming increasingly concerned. With us throughout this show is retired Admiral Eliezer Chaini Marom, former commander of the Israel Navy and currently director of Israel's Airport Authority. Thank you very much for joining us. We've heard yesterday the Israeli Chief of Staff saying that the Iran deal has both risks but also holds some opportunities. Which is stronger?
I think that the risks at this moment are stronger, but there are opportunities because, we need to look at the Iran deal in two dimensions. One is the short term and the other one is the long term. In the short term, Iran, I think, was pushed back 10 years at least from its military nuclear program.
So they would uphold the deal?
I believe so, because Iran has a lot to lose if they won't do it. But what are 10, 15 years in the whole life of a nation? And therefore, in time of 10 or 15 years, Iran will have the legitimacy to hold nuclear weapons.
And what will happen in the meantime for Iran's military force and the organizations that it supports?
That's a good question, but in general speaking, Iran will have lots of money. First of all the bank accounts that now are opening, I would say something like $100 to $150 billion, that with this money, they will be able, first of all, to support Hezbollah. Their interest is to keep Assad on his chair. And besides that, they will be able to support the Houthis in Yemen and other Shiite military forces. So if we look at the short term of about 10, 15 years, we see here a very strong Shiite coalition.
And now Russia is becoming a key regional player, allying with Iran and Assad and taking an active part in the war in Syria. Let's join in our conversation director of AMEMO, Russian Academy of Sciences, and former director of Foreign Intelligence Service for Russia at the annual conference of the Institute for National Security Studies in Tel Aviv, General Trubnikov. How would you define the Russian interest in the war in Syria?
I think that the most important thing for us is to preserve Syria from falling apart. This is the most important question. And, it does not mean that we are supporting Bashar Assad like no alternative, nothing of the kind. We would like to have national compromise. It is possible. I'm absolutely sure that in case the ISI will be eliminated, we'll find the ways to preserve the unity of this country. This is the most important question, because without unity of Syria, that the neighbors will suffer more than Syria itself.
How are the achievements of the Russian aerial campaign so far?
I do not think that the political aims have been reached. Militarily, yes, we are doing our best, and I think that with the efforts of our aviation, with the efforts of our pilots, we'll proceed with spreading the place or the space for government forces. This is the most important thing. And not only the government forces, but the opposition which is fighting against Islamic Jihad.
But on a broader look, how do you see Russia's role in the Middle East today?
You mean the Russian role in the Middle East?
Correct.
I do not think that Russia is trying to establish somewhat very significant role in the Middle East. But this area is very important for the whole of the world. In case of chaos over there, you know that Russia itself will be suffering from the radical Islam, from radical elements. We don't want it. This is the thing. And fighting in Syria, we fight for our soil, practically, for our unity, for our people.
You know, I think many Israelis were surprised by the close cooperation achieved between the Israeli and Russian militaries. Where do you see the Israeli-Russian relations going to?
You know, I feel that we are practically on the same, so to say, on the same way. And we understand each other perfectly well. Without Syrian unity, Israeli security will be very, very much in danger. We do not like it. And we'll definitely find the mutual language with Israeli leadership, with Israel country, with our people who live here. We would like Israel to be intact and, of course, without any danger from outside.
General Trubnikov, thank you very much for this conversation.
Thank you so much.
Israel's fifth German-made Dolphin-class submarine arrived at Haifa port last week and was welcomed by the Israeli heads of state. Before we explore its advanced capabilities, I-24 News' Shai Ben-Ari went to greet it too.
The INS Rahav, Israel's fifth Dolphin-class submarine, finally docked at Haifa's naval port on Tuesday with much ceremony and fanfare. The arrival of a fifth submarine is of critical importance to Israel in terms of its ability to cope with regional strategic threats, specifically those posed by Iran. INS Rahav, as well as the other Dolphin-class submarines, is capable of launching Popeye turbo cruise missiles with a range of up to 1,500 kilometers, and reportedly these can actually be equipped with nuclear warheads. Each additional submarine of this type provides Israel with greater options and flexibility, especially in terms of retaliating against a potential Iranian attack. Israel's 5 Dolphin-class submarines are all German-built, and the German government, in fact, covered a third of INS Rahav's cost, amounting to 135 million euros. A U.S. State Department cable published by WikiLeaks indicates that the Dolphin submarines may have been funded partly with Holocaust reparation funds, though neither government has ever confirmed this.
The naval fighters, including the submarine crews, carry out many daring operations, far from their home ports and far from the eyes of all.
A sixth Dolphin-class submarine will be delivered to Israel in the coming years. It will be named Dakar, after the Israeli submarine which sunk mysteriously in the Mediterranean in 1968, with a loss of all 69 crew members.
Well, Admiral Marom, the world is referring to the Dolphin-class submarines as capable of carrying a second strike nuclear capability. Why does Israel need 6 of them?
Well, first of all, I cannot, of course, say anything about second strike capabilities, but I can say that, generally speaking, in the whole world, it's a common practice of using submarines to hold nuclear weapons. This is something that is very common around the world. Secondly, you got to understand that a submarine has to have lots of maintenance because of safety means. And that's the reason why from 6 submarines, you can make averagely operating submarines something like 4.
And what does the new kind of Dolphin-class submarines, the air-independent propulsion submarines, give Israel? What kind of capabilities?
The AIP system actually gives the submarine a lot of capability to stay under the water for a long while. I mean, if it was only based on batteries, electrical batteries, the time would be much shorter. So it's not a nuclear weapon, it's not a nuclear powered submarine, but it is very close to that.
Yet Israel is saying that it is going to decommission the first Dolphin submarine once the 6th will arrive.
Yes, this is a kind of desire of the Israeli Defense Force, the IDF, but as far as I understand, this will be dealt in the cabinet, and if you ask my personal opinion, I don't believe that this will happen.
Okay, let's move to another subject on which you are an expert on, airport and airline security, which are facing new and evolving threats as terror evolves. These dangers are met by a combination of advanced technology and human experience, but not without provoking dilemmas. Dov Leiber, give us a glimpse into some of these challenges and questions.
Long gone are the days of showing up for a flight a half hour before takeoff. While aviation security has been a major concern since the golden age of plane hijackings in the 1970s, after 9/11, travelers have been introduced to an ever-growing list of line-increasing security steps aimed at thwarting potential attacks on planes, including liquid bans, shoe removal, no-fly lists, and more armed air marshals. But increased security does not deter terrorists from trying to outfox airport security. Some countries have adopted the controversial full-body scan technology, which have been criticized on impending on individual privacy by showing the full contours of the body. The US toughened its travel restrictions following the downing of a Russian plane over the Sinai Peninsula with the loss of all 224 people on board. The Islamic State group claimed responsibility for the attack, saying one of its agents managed to sneak a bomb on board the plane disguised as a soft drink can. An internal investigation by the U.S. Transportation Security Administration conducted in 2015 revealed security failures at dozens of the nation's busiest airports, where undercover investigators were able to smuggle mock explosives or banned weapons through checkpoints in 95% of the time. Back in 2002, the Bush administration tried to add a layer of security and screen travelers according to their risk level based on their banking or judicial records. The project, which was quickly thwarted under pressure from privacy advocates, could make a comeback.
It's my hope that in the long run, TSA and the privacy groups will reconsider their objection to sharing of data and recognize that sharing of data may be better than relying on the pictures and the pat-downs.
While the U.S. appears to favor technology and policy protocols, Israeli aviation security has been known for its use of intelligence gathering, designed to detect suspicious behavior. Before boarding a flight, passengers submit to a question-and-answer session with a security agent. In the past, personnel belongings would also be examined in that stage of the boarding. But in an effort to speed up the process, the new HBS, Hold Baggage Screening System, was put in place.
We don't ask people to come 3 hours before their flight for no reason. We take into account the first security check, baggage registration, and the possibility of one of the bags needing to be opened and searched.
In their effort to ensure flight safety, Israeli authorities often follow racial profiling, subject mainly young Arabs to additional inquiries. While this method is highly criticized, it is used in a growing number of airports around the world. In this new era of homegrown terror, balancing privacy and security will become an even bigger challenge.
Admiral Meron, Tel Aviv Airport is considered one of the safest, if not the safest in the world. Still, most travelers go through the Tel Aviv Airport quite easily. What is the key there? Profiling?
One of the keys is that we are now in a pilot. We are developing a new system that will profile the passengers. The system will collect information from many databases and at the end fuse them into one system and profile the passenger. Until then, we are using still the traditional systems, but we are using another way of questioning the passengers. And this is the initial questioning that we are doing before we start the screening and so on. I think that the Ben Gurion Airport is the only airport where we question the passengers one by one before they start their check-in to the flight.
And that does the work?
It's not 100% proof, but we believe that good human selectors can see on the body language of the passenger if he is dangerous or not. Yeah.
How do you deal with the different standards that exist in different parts of the world? We've seen a Russian aircraft taking off from Sharm el-Sheikh being brought down. We've seen a French aircraft taking off from Mauritius carrying a mocked-up bomb. How do you deal with different levels of security in different airports?
The only way to do so is by signing treaties and agreements between countries and between airliners and airports. But more than that, I think, and the most important part is that we meet one with another and we coordinate our operations. The new head of the TSA, for example, he, by the way, is also a former admiral from the American Coast Guard. He's an old friend, and we met here in Israel, and we had a long session of showing to him what we are doing, exchanging ideas, and so on. This is the way to keep worldwide standard for all airports and airlines.
But what do you think the emergence of the ISIS idea or ideology do to the world of aviation?
It absolutely raises the threat, and we must all the time be very, very alerted and very, very sensitive to anybody. And at the same time, we must allow all passengers equal to fly anywhere they wish to. This is not a very simple challenge, but I think that it's possible, and we are using more and more technology. More and more technology is coming in, and I think that in the future, most of the work will be done by security will be done by technologic systems.
Admiral Eliezer Chani-Marom, thank you very much for being with us, and that's all we have time for. Be sure to visit us again next week for another edition of I-24 News Defense. Have a safe night from the Jaffa Port.